Hello everyone, and welcome to Retro Brick Reviews, where today I am very excited to be bringing you my full-length, in-depth analysis of LEGO Harry Potter, set number 75980, Attack on the Burrow. This set includes 1,047 pieces, 8 minifigures, and it retails for about $100 in the United States, or at least it will when it releases on August 1st, most likely. At least that's what every listing from LEGO.com has said. However, it is possible that it will release early on July 1st. However, outside of the US, it will be releasing on June 1st, so enjoy every country that I don't live in. But anyway, so this set is, of course, based on the non-canonical scene from Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, where Bellatrix Lestrange and Fenrir Greyback burned down the Burrow. And this is never mentioned again, even though the Burrow is important at the beginning of Deathly Hallows, but oh well. They just rebuilt it, I guess. Anyway, not going to talk about that scene, because it's really not all too relevant for the set, aside from the minifigures, and the name, which, not a fan of that name, because not even just going with the semantics of the scene, but you get 2 minifigures and a tiny little fireside build. You can't, like, break off parts of the Burrow or pull up, like, fire pieces from cracks in the building or anything like that. You can't fire off spells. Like, this set's about an attack on the Burrow, like how the 2016 Star Wars UCS set was an assault on Hoth. But, anyway, I'll prefer to just see this as the Christmas scene from the Half-Blood Prince book and movie, where Harry is just at the Burrow for Christmas and tries to tell Lupin, who is not included, about how Draco's up to something, and no one believes him, because, I mean, Harry's usually not right about these things, come on. But anyway, so, yeah. And this set just looks fantastic. Just looking at the box art, it's great. I love all the little details, and we'll get into all of that very shortly. In fact, right now, how about? So, just looking at the main set picture of this set, in the front you have all 8 of the minifigures that we'll be taking a closer look at later, as well as some creatures which we will not. Specifically, the set includes the new flying Hedwig piece, which I'm so glad is going to be very common in this new lineup, as well as including the returning brown owl from the 2010 LEGO Harry Potter line, which made its last appearance before this in the Diagon Alley set from 2011. So, good to see that return. We also get the pink pig from the Pirates of Barracuda Bay Ideas set, a letter from Hogwarts, and a bucket. Off to the right, we have the small flame side build that we'll get to later, but just looking at the main design of the Burrow from the exterior, something very unique LEGO did with the set is, normally, LEGO buildings are closed from 3 sides: the front, the left, and the right, and they are open at the back, like a dollhouse. This set keeps the dollhouse style, but instead of those 3 sides, it is closed off from the left side, the front, and the back. But the right side of the house is entirely open. And when I say right side, I mean, like, as viewed from the back of the house. But anyway, so the right side is open, and you have all the interior space in there. The building is 4 floors tall, and it just looks fantastic. Like, starting off at the bottom, you have the windows and the wood details, and those are stickers down at the bottom. I hope that only the ones on the windows will be clear-backed, because I am not great with clear-back stickers. So I hope that there are as few of those in the set as possible, since if they're all clear-back, that would be a detraction from the set, in my opinion. But you also can see the return of the 1x3x3 window pieces from the Night Bus from last year, this time with the frames being in light tan. You have sand blue window frames all over the set, which look fantastic. And then you have the roof tiling, which has the red and the dark red and the dark orange, and that just looks beautiful. Going up to the second floor, you have some nougat brick mason work, as well as the wooden scaffolding in the front, holding up the overhang of the house, and look at that. At the back, that is not even attaching to those studs. I'm very excited to see exactly how they built this in a way that is sturdy enough to where it's not going to fall off or budge, presumably at least, but to where it is able to look as though it is completely fragile, pretty much held together with magic, because that is just such a great thing to have that little slant, to have it look just so precarious. Like, this looks like it's about to just slide off the top and just fall onto the table and shatter into hundreds of pieces, and it just looks fantastic. The third floor is relatively basic, but up at the very top, the top floor, has some good wood paneling details. Using 1x6 and 1x3 tiles, the latter of which some of them have printing. And up at the top you have the chimney, or well, one of them, because in-universe the Burrow has 5 chimneys. If I'm correct, this version only has 2. A major one you can see here, as well as a smaller one which is only visible from other angles. And if you look all the way to the left, you can see a small amount of the interior showing. And speaking of the interior, let's get to that right now. And this just looks so fun. I'm so excited to get my hands on the set, but I've already said that. So let's just see how, starting at the bottom, we have the kitchen, which is a very good-looking area. You have the table with 6 seats, all of them being different colors, so everything's all mismatched, which fits very well for the Weasley family. And it's nice to get 6 seats, because that's how many Weasleys and guests are included in the set. So good to have accommodation for everyone. In the back, you can see the clock that the Weasleys have, which shows every family member, as well as what state they're in, such as work, school, prison, mortal peril, you know, the usuals. There you can see Tonks holding what is either a dying plant or a wilted salad, and I'm not really sure which. But on the table, you can see that the Burrow is set for breakfast, with eggs, teacups, coffee mugs, and a whole bunch of Eggo waffles, courtesy of the Stranger Things Upside Down set. At the side, you have the sink, the different bottles and spices. You have a picture of a cauldron, which could be a recipe. And in the background, you can see some paintings, as well as some other details that'll become more apparent from a different angle. And a play feature of the set, or, well, at least one of them, is that you can fold back the kitchen area, because, of course, depending on how you are displaying the set, you might have it showing from an angle where it might be awkward to have the kitchen showing, because you'd be able to see it from the outside, which personally I wouldn't have a problem with, but if you want to have the set just purely displayed from the exterior, it is a helpful feature to hide this away. Plus, it allows you to get more access to the other parts of this build, such as the clock, as well as a little armchair in the back. However, this isn't the only section that can fold open, because the front half of the house can also fold out to reveal the sitting room. And I think it's really smart how they were able to fit both areas into this one build for the bottom floor of the house. And again, unfortunately, you really can't have them both displayed at the same time unless you have this folded out. So I guess you could, it just won't look that good from any angle besides this, but yeah. So I really like the interior of this section, since they were able to tailor it pretty well for this room. So you have the nice wooden arches. In the back, you have a candle stand, some bottles, a little flower in a pot, a lamp. You have a sofa or love seat that can be removed, as well as a table. And you have the flue fireplace, and while I do not have a picture of this, you can see that there is a Technic beam coming out of the side of the model, and that will be attached to a crank where when you turn it, it will allow you to switch the fire from standard fire to the magical green flue powder fire. And unfortunately, if you can't already tell from the size of that piece, there will be absolutely no way to fit your figures through the fireplace. So you cannot travel by flue powder, but you can still have the color of the fire change for roleplay purposes. And, I mean, even if the fireplace did have a feature, with the way it's set up, it would only just drop figures into the kitchen, which wouldn't make much sense. And even if it was positioned differently, the best case scenario for a disappearing feature is just, oh, they fall out the back of the house. How exciting. And so I can imagine some kids being a bit disappointed by that, but I'd much prefer a mostly functional flue fireplace that is built in the house over how the 2010 set had a fully functional, I guess, fireplace that was outside the house. I'd much prefer to have even a completely non-functional one inside, so even getting this much function, that's great. And yeah, so that's just a really good area. Also, you can get a better look at some of the drawings and pictures in the background. Yeah, good stuff. And, oh, I just noticed this. It looks as though how this will lock is if you look down to the bottom right, you have a little 1x1 brick with a stud on one side, and I imagine that that would key in to an anti-stud on the other side, whether from a Technic brick or the back of a headlight brick. So that should be able to help this section lock very tightly and very cleanly, which is just fantastic. Up to the second floor, it is the smallest because this section only has a small part of the house, since this is the part with the overhang over the roof as well as the scaffolding, so there isn't much room here. But you do have Ginny's bedroom, where she has a bed, of course, a little desk with a mirror, as well as a hairbrush, a poster of the Weird Sisters, which is fine, although I'm personally more of a fan of the Hex Girls myself, as well as her broomstick hanging on the wall, which I actually have no idea what model Ginny's broomstick is, I'm sorry. I want to say a clean sweep, but I think that might be Ron's. In fact, I know that Ron has a clean sweep, but I think Ginny might also have one. I'll have to look that up when I'm done with this video. Anyway, so this is still a good area, though, even if I don't know that little factoid. But yeah, it's cute, it's everything it needs to be, and I don't think we ever actually see Ginny's room in the movies, so for all I know, this could be entirely accurate. In fact, I think it is, since I think this does match up with what we read in the Deathly Hallows book, but I don't remember perfectly since it's been a little bit since I've tucked into the books. Especially Deathly Hallows, since obviously it's one of the longest ones, and it's the last one, so the only times I really read it are when I read the whole series, which I don't really have time for a lot. Anyway, moving on. Up to the third floor, we have a moderately fuzzy picture, because the only good one I could find was from the back of the box. So we are zoomed in a little, but you can see that the third floor actually comprises 2 rooms, where we have what looks to be another small sitting room area, as well as what I believe is supposed to be Mr. and Mrs. Weasley's room, although I prefer to think of it as Fred and George's room, partially due to the fact that you have the self-knitting needles knitting what I believe to be either a piece of generic Weasley clothing, which just wouldn't make sense, or the W immediately makes me think of Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, especially with the orange color. So I think that the idea is that the self-knitting needles, which is just such a smart use of the wand pieces, that's brilliant, but anyway, that those are knitting something for the Weasley Wizard Wheezes shop for Fred and George. So that's a cute detail, and why I will think of this as Fred and George's room, but above that, it's kind of cut off from this angle, but you can actually see a framed picture of all of the Weasleys from their vacation to Egypt, which, fun fact, is the only point in all 8 Harry Potter movies where we see Charlie Weasley. Kind of a pointless thing to know, but I know it. But yeah, then you have the bed off to the side, which has the red and blue checks, as well as the pink pillow, and again, that red and blue checkerboard pattern just really makes me think of Fred and George for some reason, I don't know. But yes, there's that. And then, going up to the very top of the model, we have Ron's room, which is a very small and cramped space, even smaller than Ginny's, I do believe, actually. Where we have the brown owl, which, now that I think of it, could be supposed to represent Pigwidgeon, since Pigwidgeon is that color, and, I mean, he's in Ron's room, and I don't think we ever see Pigwidgeon in the movies, so it could work, and they definitely wouldn't do a new mold for the tiny owl, although, yeah, if that is the case, this owl is absolutely massive and way too big to be Pig. But anyway, yeah, so you can see that Ron has a very orange bed with a Chudley Cannon's comforter, as well as, I believe, on the side that is a poster, also for the Chudley Cannons, as well as a little place to hold his Clean Sweep 7 broomstick out on the balcony. And there's also a small amount of attic crawl space where you can see that Hedwig has just been stuffed in there. And yeah, that is pretty much the interior of the burrow. Nothing too complicated outside of the bottom floor, but there's just so much fun stuff going on here. So many opportunities to play out scenes from the movies and the books, if you're more of a book canon stickler, which I was once, but I've grown a bit more lax over the years. I can enjoy a lot of stuff about the films at this point. But yeah, this is just a really great looking set, and yeah, you can see from this angle up at the top how you do have the 2 chimney spouts, so that's nice. But yeah, I just think that all the colors on this model, all the techniques, just everything about this is fantastic. And again, just look at that little slant for the top half of the model. Like, that's on the interior. That's great. I like how they've just been able to make this feel just the right amount of rustic, and also in some places just the right amount of claustrophobic, where sometimes you have places of the walls sloping in, and it's just such a brilliantly done set, and I am so glad it exists. And, you know, it's kind of funny, because when the set was announced, I was so sure that, like, LEGO could do a really good job, but I did not think they would be able to beat the 2010 Burrow, because I adore that set. I don't own it, but, like, that set is only second to Diagon Alley when it comes to sets I really wish I'd picked up back when they were available, because I regret not getting them so much. But I don't really feel that anymore, because this set just blows that one out of the water. There is no comparison whatsoever. That set was fine, but outside of the minifigure selection, or minifigure design, more accurately, that set has absolutely nothing on this Burrow. There really isn't much else to say than that. This is the perfect build. It is incredible. There are absolutely no flaws with this that I can see. The only thing I can think of is that it is possible that it will be a bit fragile with the slanting of the top half, but I would bet a lot of money that the LEGO Group has made that very sturdy, because I feel as though this is a toy for kids mainly, and if having the slant meant that the set would be unstable, they would just cut out the slant like they did on the 2010 version. They wouldn't include that unless they were able to make it work. But, yeah, that's really all I have to say about the main build. So let's talk about this little side build. It's 15 pieces, I do believe. Yeah, it's 15 pieces. And there isn't much to say about it. It's a gray plate with some fire on it. I guess the fire pieces actually are interesting, because that's a new coloration for them. The big flame pieces, I mean. Normally, they come in either a transparent orange color, or in a mix of trans red and trans yellow. Here they come in a mix of what I believe is trans neon orange, as well as the trans black or brown or smoke color, whatever you want to call it. And The idea behind that, I believe, is to make it look like there is smoke coming off of the flames, which is a really smart design. It just looks really good. Like, really, it just makes a lot of sense. And, yeah, it just looks fantastic to the point where even though this build is pretty much pointless, I still won't mind displaying it because it just looks nice. But I am really glad that this is all we got as builds for the attack on the Burrow, because I was really worried with that name that they were going to devote hundreds of pieces to making this like a Lego City Fire Air set, where you could have, like, different places where the roof has gaps in it, so you could just turn a lever and, oof, pop up a fire, oof, blow out a window. So I am so glad that that's not the case, and we get a fantastic-looking build with this nice little garnish. But okay, it's time to talk about the minifigures, and if there's one problem that everyone has with this set, it's those minifigures, and we'll just go from left to right, starting with these first four, starting with Mr. Ronald Bilious Weasley, and, well, I think that, for what it's worth, he's not a bad minifigure. He has the same face print he got last year, which is the case for the entirety of the trio throughout this year, which I think it works fine. In fact, I feel as though, for all of them, this face print actually works better with the hairpieces they have this year than with the hairpieces they were designed for last year. So that's just funny thing. But yeah, Ron here is actually using the skater hair in dark orange, which was actually the hairpiece he used back in the 2010 sets, which were also based on his Half-Blood Prince design. So it makes sense. But it's good to see that hairpiece back for Ron again, since that's just a hairpiece I have a lot of nostalgia for in that color, because the first Lego Ron minifigure I ever got was from the Hogwarts Express, where, obviously, he had that hair color, and it was, I believe, that, along with the Ginny hair from that set, were the first ginger-colored hairpieces I ever had in my collection. Ginger or regular brown, now that I think of it. So if I wanted someone with brown hair, chances are I was using one of those two pieces. So, yeah, that's good. And then the torso is not accurate because he's just using the sweater torso from the Hagrid's Hut last year. Whereas in Universe, he was wearing a sweater over the teal shirt he's wearing in the Astronomy Tower set. But since we're already getting that shirt by itself, I think it's perfectly acceptable for Lego to just reuse a sweater print here. It works perfectly fine. And he has black legs. Yeah, that's Ron. Nothing amazing, but nothing bad. Then we have Ginny, who is also a minifigure. She's using her same hairpiece from 2010, actually, now that I think of it. Yeah, 2010. And glad that they didn't get rid of that. Kind of wish that they'd been able to take the little hair clip they have molded in and just print a little bit for that. Like, just print a bit of silver on that clip. Because I don't like when hair pieces have, like, hair clips or ties and they're just not printed and they're the same color as the hair. It looks a little weird to me, this being no exception. I mean, it's a very minor thing, and most people probably wouldn't even notice it, but it just bugs me a little. Ginny's face is not Ginny's face. It is the face of Claire from Jurassic World. And, I mean, it's not the worst face reuse in the world. We'll see that when I do my analysis of the Astronomy Tower, trust me. But, I mean, it's not great. I feel as though this side, which has kind of the cocky smirk, is the better of the two, and it doesn't even work that well. But the other side is a very frightened expression, which I guess works for movie Ginny, but it really doesn't for book Ginny, which is the version of the character I care about. Because Ginny, by all accounts, her alternate expression should be aggressive, or at least annoyed. Being scared out of her wits does not work, in my opinion. And again, it's annoying, because the 2010 Ginny had such a fantastic likeness to Bonnie Wright for both sides of her face, and this is just such a major downgrade from that, and that's going to be a theme in the set, where as great as the build is, and while the minifigures have improved in some places, overall, the quality of figures in this set is a major downgrade from the quality of figures we got in the last Burrow. A decade ago, and that is just embarrassing and unfortunate, and really does harm the set a lot. But hey, at least Ginny does get a new torso print. That's really all I can say about it. It's a sand green shirt with some pockets, yeah. Next figure, Nymphadora Tonks. A character that I am glad to get, and a lot of people are glad to get, although I'm pretty sure that most people would much prefer to get her in her Order of the Phoenix appearance. I honestly do kind of prefer this look. I do like the torso. In fact, I think this looks a lot better in Lego than it does on the actual costume from the movies. But she has the Snape hairpiece in dark brown, which is something that isn't entirely accurate, because a lot of people think that, well, she should get all her different hairs, like give her the pink hair and the purple hair, and I disagree. Because this isn't Order of the Phoenix, this is Half-Blood Prince. She only had one hair color in this movie. But on that note, this isn't it. And it's not really the style either. There are two pieces I think could have worked. Option A is the Kira hairpiece from the Solo A Star Wars story sets, which they didn't use for a reason that will become unfortunately apparent in a minute. And option B, which is what I would have gone with, is the Sabine Wren hairpiece from Star Wars Rebels, because with that you could have printed some detail on there, like given her the purple highlights her hair had in this scene. So that's a bit of a letdown, but at least we do get a new torso, and I believe a new face as well, because that face looks so familiar, but that might just be because it's quite generic. But I feel as though I've seen that before, but I've looked for... I spent a while looking, and I could not find any sets featuring this face. So, if this is a face you recognize, please put it down in the comments below, because it's driving me a bit mad. Anyway, after her is Harry, who is the same exact figure from the Grop in the Forbidden Forest set, and like Ron, has absolutely no new prints for this season. His hair is one that's existed for a decade, his face is the same from last year, his torso's, much like Ginny's face, from Jurassic World. I mean, again, there's no real problem with the figure, it's just underwhelming, and so far for these figures, we have 3 that are fine but underwhelming, and 1 that I think is disappointing. So far, not a good track record. Also, not a huge thing, but I do want to point out how none of the figures so far have leg printing. Oof. But yeah, moving on to the other 4, this is where we start to get even more problems. Starting with Molly Weasley. You know, I was so excited when they announced this set for so many reasons, but one of them was because I really wanted to get a figure of Molly, because she's one of my favorite Harry Potter characters. I'm a huge fan of Molly Weasley. The 2010 figure was incredible, almost perfect, and I was so excited to see how they could possibly improve on that figure. Turns out, they didn't improve on that figure. In fact, this Molly Weasley figure is quite abhorrent, in my opinion. Starting with the hairpiece, and hey, it's Kira's hair from Solo! That's not even close to what her hair looks like. It's all frizzy and frazzled. This is like a smooth hairpiece. How does this even look anything like it? And the crazy thing is that this hairpiece existed in dark brown. LEGO had to take up a production frame to recolor this piece. This is a new piece that cost them a good amount of money to put into the set. And like, if you're gonna recolor a hairpiece, why not just recolor Hermione's Years 1 and 2 hairpiece from 2018? That piece would have worked much better than this. In fact, hey, if you're using up a frame, you might as well just bring back the original Hermione hairpiece in dark orange that Molly used in 2010, since that piece is just perfection, and they should have, like, that would have been the best case scenario, but even then, the newer Years 1 and 2 Hermione hair would have worked so much better than this. This is just not good at all. Her face is not as bad, but it's not a new print, and in fact, this is where Harry Potter starts doing my absolute favorite LEGO trope, using the same face print for multiple characters in the same series. That's right, here we have Molly Weasley using Helga Hufflepuff's face, and I mean, I know, it's not the hugest thing since Helga Hufflepuff was dead hundreds and hundreds of years before this, but still, it's weird, especially since that figure was such a huge collectible. It's one of 4 figures exclusive to a $400 set, the second biggest kit they've ever made. And it's just really weird to have her face print be reused here. Also, there's the issue that now Molly has 2 smiling expressions for when her house is burnt down. Wonderful. Her torso is actually pretty good. No real complaints there, and in fact, that's a general thing. The figures might have a lot of problems with faces and legs and hair, but at least they all have spot-on torsos, pretty much. And then she has an unprinted nougat skirt piece, which, hey, that's the first time this is coming in a set. Previously, it only appeared in a Build-A-Minifigure station at the LEGO store, because there was actually the unprinted version of, hey, Helga Hufflepuff skirt. So I don't know why this Molly Weasley figure is 50% Hufflepuff, but oh well. Next figure is, thankfully, actually good. In fact, probably my favorite in the set. Arthur Weasley. His hair is nothing new, but it's nothing bad. It's what I expected them to use, and it's a hairpiece that I'm perfectly fine with them using. It's just the standard Mutt Williams hair in dark orange, the same hairpiece Harry uses in black. He has a brand new face print, which I believe will be double-sided, with the other face having a more stern expression. He has a very nicely printed torso with the button-up cardigan, with all the different plaid details, buttons, the tie. It just looks very nice. It's a very highly detailed print, much like Molly's. And again, even if the figures do have problems, they all have phenomenal torsos. Arthur has no leg printing, but I don't think he needed it. But yeah, you get a fantastically new printed face that looks just like the actor, a fantastically printed torso. This is a great minifigure. Who is next to an above-average minifigure? It's Fenrir Greyback, and he, above all figures from the entire reboot, looks so similar to the original version, which could be a testament to how the original figure from 2010 was just so fantastic. And hey, he came from the Burrow set. What a coinkydink. But his hair is black now instead of dark brown, which I think is a bit of an improvement. This face print, where he has the evil smile, is extremely similar to an old print. However, his alternate face will have him looking much more aggressive, which is a new design that is much better than kind of confused Greyback. His torso is very similar again, but we have seen leaks of this, and we know that the printing on the front will be not as full as it is. It will be faded, since it's light colors printed on black. But the original one was very oversaturated in the print, where his skin was orange. So you get to decide whether you want Fenrir's chest to have a horrifying sunburn, or to have just, not have received any sunlight at all. Or pigment, for that matter. But hey. And then his legs are actually the General Hux, Snape, Nick Fury, Cedric Diggory, Cornelius Fudge, etc. You get the point legs. Except they've actually been updated to remove the little sort of center coat they had on there, because it had General Hux wearing the trench coat over his tunic, and that was a problem on every figure that had previously used these legs. That's been removed for this season. So the legs now just have the coat, which is a nice thing to update. He's another good figure. Last but not least is Bellatrix, and Molly's my least favorite figure in the set, but I think Bellatrix is objectively the worst, and definitely the biggest downgrade. Because, she gets her old hairpiece. The torso print is slightly better than the old one. But she has no dress printing, and it looks bad. And then her face print is just mantises from Guardians of the Galaxy. Why? It looks nothing like her. She looks pleasant. And her other face is just angry. She's supposed to look insane. She's supposed to be crazy. Why does she look normal? Especially since this face is a dead ringer for her sister Narcissa. So Lego, you use this head a little early. You could have used it next year for Narcissa, and I would have been happy because it's a perfect fit. But instead, no, you already blew it. You used it here where it doesn't work at all. At least we're getting Bellatrix in the CMF series where she'll be getting a new face that will hopefully be double-sided. Hopefully, because I want her to have an insane cackle. And, well, I usually display sets as they are designed and built, and I don't really customize things because I just like to display things how they are. I'm a stickler. If I'm going to make something, if I'm going to change something up and making custom, I'll just do it with a custom model or mock. But with this set, I'm gonna I think I will have to, one, get the CMF Bellatrix and switch out the face print, and get a copy of the old Burrow Molly Weasley hair to fix her hairpiece. But yeah, just to recap, this set has 8 minifigures, and of them, the only one that I think is an actual improvement over the old Burrow set is Arthur. I feel as though Harry and Greyback are about even with the original ones, but I feel as though Ginny is a minor setback from the original because of the face print, and Molly and Bellatrix are huge steps back from the original. So yeah, that's unfortunate, because this set is so great, the build is fantastic, value is great, the minifigures are not. But that's really all I have to say about the LEGO Harry Potter Attack on the Burrow. It is a fantastic set with not-so-fantastic minifigures, but the minifigures aren't going to stop me from picking this set up day one. You know, as soon as I learn when day one is. But I'm sure that'll be revealed soon enough. By July 1st, at the very least, is when I expect we'll know for the US. But, yeah, this is still my favorite of the 6 sets that they're releasing this season, even with the unfortunate problems so many of the figures have, but you get just such an incredible build that it oversteps that, because overall, LEGO is a building toy, not an action figure toy, so it makes sense that the build is really the main drive here. I'm rambling at this point. I'm just going to cut it off here. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and there are going to be 5 more analyses, much like this, coming out very soon, so tune in for those as well if this video interested you. Which I imagine it did, because if you didn't find it interesting, I don't think you would have stuck around for the whole thing, because it was long. But thank you all so much for watching. And this is Retro Brick Reviews, signing off.